Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Lifestyle with Zeak. In today's episode of Lifestyle with Zeak, I'm going to be talking about 10 commandments of working in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, that country where you have the famous Dubai, where the world's tallest building is. Yeah, that's the country I'm talking about. So, if you're watching me for the first time, my name is Glory and I'm based in the GCC. So guys, please stay with me as we get into our conversation for today. Welcome back guys. Before I begin to spill out this 10 commandments, I have all of it written here in this particular paper. So each time you see me looking down, just know I'm trying to take a point and I have to explain them to you. How well do you understand the rules and regulation that governs that company where you work, or even the country where you live? How knowledgeable are you about the do's and don'ts of that particular country? So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 different commandments, 10 rules that you must strictly adhere to. If you're planning to come work in the UAE, you should know this. If you're already working in the UAE and you do not have idea about this video is for you as well. Now, whenever you complete 1 year of service in the UAE, you're always entitled to a payment called gratuity. So this gratuity is usually not paid to you until you're done working for a certain employer. So if you work with 10 employers and you work for more than 1 year for each of these employers are permitted, or each of these employers are meant to pay you this gratuity. And this gratuity for each year differs because the more the year increases, the more your gratuity increases, and it's also based on how much you earn as your basic salary. Now, if you go against any of these 10 commandments, your company has every right to forfeit your gratuity. That payment, they're supposed to say, thank you for working with us, they're going to forfeit it. You don't get to get it if you commit any of these 10, if you go against any of these 10 rules. The first one is adopting false identity or forging documents. Guys, false identity, forging a document is strictly prohibited in the UAE. If you do any of this, your employer has every right to terminate your contract and not pay you your gratuity. Even if you go to any labor court, your employer still wins. So I once had a case of a guy who wanted to take a loan from a particular bank, and usually these banks will always ask for your salary certificate because it helps them to know how much you're earning and all that. So this particular salary certificate should be prepared by the HR department of every or most of the companies. So this particular guy went ahead and made it. I don't know where he got the stamp from, and then he sent it to the bank. And most of the details he put on the salary certificate were not the real thing. So the bank had to actually call the company to clarify, does this person work here, and is it true that this person is earning this much? So unfortunately for him, we had to reveal the right information to the bank, and they came to find out that this guy actually forged the document. His employment was terminated immediately. But he was so lucky that the employer didn't want to send him back to his country. They rather left him here and then gave him some time to find another job. He got another job, and then that was it. You don't want to be in such a situation like that. And sometimes it leaves stigma. Like maybe most of the people you worked with in this particular company, you go somewhere else in the near future and you want to work with them again. This world is such a small place. So avoid something like this. The second one is going to be about your probation. So over here in Dubai, employers give employee 3 to 6 month probation. This period is for your employer to actually, look out to see if you actually fit for the job. If they feel that you're not okay or you don't fit that particular position, or probably how much the effort you're putting in isn't enough, they have every right to terminate your employment. And it's legal. The next one is going to be making mistake that result into substantial loss for your employer. You want to make mistake? Please don't make costly mistakes. When you make costly mistakes, your employer has every right to terminate your employment and leave you with nothing. The next one is disobeying laws or rules that has to do with the safety of your company where you're working. or maybe they tell you do not smoke in this particular area, and that's where you want to smoke, and they know that if you smoke there, you can expose a particular part to fire or something else could happen, and you go ahead to do something like that. When you go ahead to do things like this, doing things that would cause harm to your company or to any other person working around you, they have every right to terminate your employment and leave you with nothing. So when you go into a particular work environment, it's your responsibility to understand the do's and don'ts of the environment, of that particular work environment, because this is where this particular point falls under. The next one is your inability to perform your basic duties. They've hired you to come and work as an accountant, and you're not doing that particular job. Whether you come to work to come drink coffee or to do something else that is not even in your work schedule, or the basic things you're supposed to do, or the basic things they've employed you to do, you can't do them. So your employer has every right, if they find you guilty of this particular thing, and they have every right to actually terminate your employment and also leave you with nothing. The next one has to do with revealing the secret of your establishment. Many of us, we tend to handle positions whereby we have confidential information, and then you go reveal this confidential information to probably your friends or maybe to competitors in the market, and it escalates to a point whereby you yourself cannot handle it. Your employer has every right to terminate your contract, send you back to your country even the next day, depending on the gravity of your offense. It's possible. I've seen cases like that. Most times my friend would even ask me things about the place that I work, and I tell them it's private and confidential, and they will always be like, what's so private and confidential about that information? Because I know where I work, because I know the rules and regulation governing the country where I stay in. I don't stay in my home country. I'm an expatriate. So there are certain things that I don't even bother saying to people because I know it could bring problems. The next one has to do with being convicted of a particular crime. You probably do something here in the UAE, it goes to the court, and then you're guilty as charged. Your employer has every right to terminate your contract and leave you with nothing. The next has to do with going to work under the state of drunkenness or under the influence of drug. Drug is a big offense in the UAE. You're not allowed to do drugs in the UAE. And guys, for those of you who drink as much as you want to drink before your duty. Never come to your workplace drunk. Now, many people say, why would I even come to my workplace drunk? I don't know how people do it, but I've seen cases of people who actually come to work drunk. And when you ask me, I don't have an answer to give you. I don't know why. So I once experienced a particular one about a fellow colleague who was actually drunk. She was drunk from the house and came to her place of work. So she worked in the room service. By the way, I've been in the hotel industry, most of my time here in the UAE. I've spent basically 7 years in the hotel industry. So she was working in the room service. And then room service is where the guests would usually call to get if they wanted food or something. So they called her that day, and because she was drunk and she was not in her right frame of mind, she couldn't pick up the call. They kept on calling and calling. This is bad for the hotel. It's a bad reputation that a guest wants something and keeps calling the room service, and the room service is no one to answer the call. They had to call the reception, the front office, telling them that they wanted something, and they've been calling the room service, but no one was answering the phone. So they had to go, the managers from the front office had to go to the had to go to the room service. On getting there, they found out that this particular person she has even passed out. She was not even aware of the things happening around. And by the time it was morning, they informed the HR about it, and that was it. Her employment was terminated. So it doesn't matter even if she has spent actually 10 years in that particular in that particular organization. They have every right to terminate her contract because it's in the law that you cannot be drunk at your workplace. Sorry guys, my lights just went out. I have to just manage it like this until I'm done with this particular video. And now the next one has to do with assaulting your employer or your fellow worker. It's a big crime here. You cannot hit people. If somebody slaps you, you turn the other side of your cheek for the person to slap you. You can't retaliate. In this country, like here in the UAE, you do not have any right to beat anybody. You cannot assault your employer. Talk more of the person that you work with. Whatever situation it is, whatever disagreement you have, you should always take it to your supervisors. If your supervisors cannot handle it, you can always escalate it to your HOD, to the head of department, or even straight up to the HR, depending on the gravity of the situation on ground. And the last one is going to be absent from work without a valid reason. Guys, if you want to be absent from work, make sure you inform your supervisors, or inform your, the person you connect, the person you actually report to. Ensure that you tell them that, Mr. So and so, I'm not going to be coming to work today because of so and so reason. So if you're absent for work for 20 non-consecutive days without a valid reason, your employer has every right to terminate your contract. Now, 20 non-consecutive days means today is Monday, you do not come to work and you do not give a valid reason why you're not coming to work today. Maybe 2 days last week, in the last week that we just concluded, 2 days in that week you were not at work and there was no valid reason. So if you do it for 20 consecutive days without a valid reason, your employer has every right to terminate your contract. And then in this particular point, for 7 consecutive days, from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you didn't come to work and no valid reason, they have every right to terminate your contract, irrespective of what the problem is. So guys, I hope I've been able to communicate the 10 commandments of working in the UAE. So if you have any questions about this particular video, please drop them right there in the comment section, and I'll be more than willing to answer whatever questions you might have. And if you have any other topic that you feel I should talk about concerning working in the UAE and living in the UAE, do let me know also in the comment section. Guys, if you're watching me for the first time, do support me by subscribing to my channel, watch, share, and also like my videos. And to all of my returning subscribers, I want to say very, very thank you for your massive love and support. I do not take them for granted. All right, guys, see you all in my next video. Bye.